Hola amigos, Mr. Bruce here. I've been away for a while. It's good to see you all again. We're going to try to work our way this week through a new book of 5-minute stories. This is the Disney Pixar 5-minute stories. We like them with Peppa Pig. We like them with Llama Llama. Now we'll see how they are with these guys. But before we start, eyes watching, ears listening, voices quiet, body calm. Wakanda forever. Okay. The first story is Mike's Laughing Matter. Beep, beep, beep. Mike Wazowski's eyes popped open. He stretched his arms and grinned. It was time for work. He turned off his alarm clock and hopped out of bed. He didn't want to be late for his job at Monsters, Inc. Mike took his work very seriously. When Mike arrived at work, he headed straight to the locker room. His job was to go into the human world and make kids laugh. He collected the laughs and brought them home back to Monsters, Inc. Then the company charged the laughs, and all the people paid for them in the city of Monstropolis. Mike wasn't just any employee. Mike was the top laugh collector. He was always coming up with new jokes. As Mike walked down the hall to the laugh floor, a furry orange monster named George waved and said, "Hi, Mike. Got any plans for the weekend?" Mike just nodded and kept on walking. He didn't have time to chat if he was going to run through his routine. A moment later, he arrived at his station. Mike practiced his jokes aloud. A sandal bumped into a sneaker. "Want to hang out?" the sandal asked. The sneaker said, "Nah, sorry, I got to run." Just then, the door dropped down from the ceiling and into the station. "Time to rock and roll," Mike said, very excitedly. Mike walked through the door and into the child's bedroom closet. He peeked out, and to his surprise, the bedroom was dark. The shades were down. The glow of a nightlight filled the room. Mike tiptoed over to the bed. The little boy was sound asleep. He wouldn't be getting laughs here, but kids shouldn't be asleep at this time of the day. Mike knew he wouldn't be collecting any laughs here, and he seemed pretty early for bedtime, he thought, stepping back through the closet door into Monsters, Inc. He looked over at his empty laugh canister. "I guess the kid had a busy day. Well, I'll just have to crack up somebody else's night tonight." A moment later, he went into a new door, and Mike stepped through it. "You've got to be kidding," he whispered. There was a young girl asleep, snoring. "I'm not going to give up," Mike declared. After all, he was the funniest monster at Monsters, Inc. Mike took a deep breath and returned to the laugh floor and tried another door. Then another. No luck. All the children were asleep. Well, he couldn't wake people up in the middle of the night. It wasn't like he was making them scared. He was making them laugh. What a terrible, terrible day. Mike grumbled as he walked back to his workstation, yet again, disappointed. He packed up his belongings. Outside of Monsters, Inc., a few monsters were talking with Sully, the president of the company, and Mike's best friend. Mike went over and told his friends what had happened. "Doesn't anyone stay up past dinner?" he asked. George shrugged his furry orange shoulders. "I didn't have any problems. I collected nearly a dozen canisters," said Charlie, a skinny green monster. "One of my best days ever." Sully patted Mike's arm. "Probably just a coincidence, pal. I'm sure tomorrow will be better. Why don't you come and have dinner with us?" Mike shook his head. He needed to go home and write some more jokes. He was determined to have more laughs next week. When Mike got home, his phone was ringing. It was his girlfriend, Celia. "How was work?" she asked. "Oh, terrible," Mike said. "I didn't fill up one canister." "Oh, don't worry," said Celia. "You're still the funny monster I know. The laughs will come. Do you want to go to a movie on Saturday?" "Well, can I let you know tomorrow?" Mike asked. "Sure," Celia replied, and Mike hung up the phone. He wrote 8 new jokes, reread them several times, and then hurried off to bed. The next day, Mike was bursting with excitement. "What did the ghost serve at the birthday party?" he asked. "Ice cream," he joked. He was warming up. But it happened again, and each time Mike stepped through a door, he found a sleeping kid. What was going on? Mike stomped back to the laugh floor. There was nothing to laugh about. His reputation as the funniest monster in the Monsters, Inc. was on the line. "What's the matter, Mike?" George asked. "You seem cranky." "Want to grab a bite?" Sully suggested. Other monsters had started to look at Mike, wondering what was going on. "Not now," Mike said, pacing back and forth. "This is a disaster. I can't find any kids awake. What's going on?" "Well, maybe you're losing your touch," George said. "Maybe you should get more sleep," Charlie advised. Mike felt his face getting hot with anger. "Listen!" Suddenly Mike noticed that Sully was grinning, and so were the others. Even Celia's hair snakes were smiling. "Maybe you shouldn't take your laugh so seriously," Sully said with a wink. "What do you know about this?" asked Mike. "We got you," George yelled. He and Charlie high-fived. "Got me?" Mike said, giving everybody a big one-eyed stare. "The guys thought it was time to help you lighten up and laugh a bit, Mike." That's what Sully said to him. "When was the last time you went to lunch with one of us?" "A long time. You haven't stopped to chat in weeks. I heard Celia ask you to the movies on Saturday." "But I mean, this work has been, Mike tried to explain that he took his jokes very seriously, and then he realized his friends were right. He'd forgotten so hard to collect laughs that he'd forgotten to have some of his own. He smiled. "Okay, how do you do it?" he asked. "I'll tell you how we did it. When you weren't home, I snuck into your house and changed your clock," Charlie told him. "That's why when the kids were all asleep, when you walked into your bedrooms, it was really at nighttime. You thought it was daytime." As Mike looked at all the smiling monsters, faces around him, he realized how much his friends cared about him. He found himself finally beginning to relax, and then he let out a loud chuckle. Soon, everyone on the laugh floor was cracking up. "I have to admit, you guys really had me going," Mike said, wiping a happy tear from his eye. And Sully grinned and said, "This time the joke was on you." The end. Okay. Well, that was a good one to start with, I think. I think most of us know who Mike and Sully are. Tomorrow we're going to do something from the Bug's Life, I think. And until then, it's good to be back and see you all again. I hope you're doing well. I'll be back tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. In that time, be good to your folks and wash your hands. Bye-bye.